We're on? Go ahead, go ahead.
This is Live from the Table, the official podcast of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, coming at you on Sirius XM 99 Raw Comedy, also available as a podcast and on YouTube for that multimedia experience. This is Dan Naturman, Comedy Cellar, semi-regular.
Dan says he doesn't get spots like he used to.
Nobody does.
Let's talk about that. Go ahead.
And here with Noam Dworman, the owner, the proprietor of the Comedy Cellar, the ever-expanding Comedy Cellar, the new room, the Menachem Dworman Comedy Theater should be opening
The monopoly.
in 2025, but we can't say precisely when. Periel Aschenbrand joins us, and we are blessed to have with us today Robert Kelly and Big Jay Oakerson, comedians of long-standing Comedy Cellar comedians, hosts of the Bonfire on Sirius, friends and colleagues. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
I'm so happy to have you guys here. You know, when Robert started doing the show with you, how long has that been?
A year.
So when Robert started doing the show with you, I said, we got to get these guys on the podcast, right? It wasn't easy to get you guys on the podcast.
It's not easy because of this. 3 things.
Yeah.
Jay, me, you.
Oh, no, I'm not.
You're difficult.
Please, I changed my plans on any date, time.
You don't respond to shit.
That's not true.
Oh my God.
That's true about other matters.
What?
That's not true about this particular situation.
I send you texts.
Jay doesn't respond. Let's all be honest. Jay's the least responsive.
Jay responds when he's walking the dog at night. He has certain time. I know at nighttime Jay will get back to me, and he gets back to me like that. Hey, what's up, dude? Got your thing.
I'll call you 4 times in a row to try to get you to answer. I'm like, this is the moment.
You got 15 minutes. Once this dog shits, I'm going back in, and I'm going back to watching some weird videos.
And by the way, he's so committed to that that it actually does become your fault that you didn't respond at the moment that he bequeathed. He's ready to speak to you.
I don't know what
it's like,
that
you know
means.
who I am, dude. So why weren't you available? You know I don't talk the other rest.
When he calls me, when I know he's at night,
Yeah.
I panic. I'm like, if I'm on the phone, I'm like, Duh, Mom, I gotta go. Dawn, tell Max to shut the fuck up. It's okay. Bye.
Oh, you've been surrounded by your cigar friends.
Dude, I am. I have man friends. I have a whole other life that you guys.
And they all congregate above a
You have-
massage parlor.
It is genuinely a double life because I've walked into a cigar lounge with Bobby and playfully tried to hold his hand or make it seem like we were a couple, and Bobby shoos that away. It is the only time in life where Bobby is not open to extreme gay play.
Yeah. we were in LA, and he had to go. He was going to a weed shop to get a little weed.
Yeah.
And there's a V Cuts right next to the Improv.
A what?
V Cuts. It's a cigar lounge.
Oh, okay.
One of my favorites. And it's all dudes. It's all dudes. Brothers with funky hats.
Dudes.
Men.
Men, yeah.
Fucking men.
I walked in with painted fingernails.
He walked in like this. And he tried to grab my hand. I go, dude, don't fucking do this. Don't play. Don't play. This is man Bobby.
These are so you have a whole non-comedian friendship circle?
I have, yes.
They're not friendships.
Yeah, I have great friends.
Oh, they
Paulie G, PLP, the plumber PLP. I got the 3 Spaniados, Rob the Cop. Yeah, dude. I'm getting my gun permit this week through Rob the Cop, PLP. I mean, dude, yeah. I called my friend the other day, Paulie G. He's like, I go, where you at? I'm going to the cigar. I go in the morning too sometimes, like at 8, and they have coffee and it's man talk.
Yeah, are you quiet? Are you dog whistling right-wing stuff on the show? Because I had a message today, or a DM today from just a fan that was like, it was like, fucking Bobby and his right-wing bullshit all the time. And I'm like, what's he talking? I don't know. We don't talk politics at all.
I just said I love America.
I
literally said that.
One second. First of all, I just want to say, you guys have a show every day on Sirius XM. What time?
It's on Sirius 103 Faction Talk from 5 to 7. It's the Bonfire, the hottest show on the network.
Now, how are the ratings before with Dan Soder as compared to with you?
Right now,
Oh, they don't tell you any ratings, unfortunately, but the listenership hasn't dipped at all, which is good. The only thing we can keep track of is the podcast
and that has
downloads from it. That's gone up.
You get complaints like, "Oh, bring back Dan. Robert sucks." Stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
every day,
It's
all the time.
How does that make you feel?
How does it make me feel?
Yeah.
I could give 2 shits.
Well, you know, they complained about Peter Best, too, when he left the Beatles, but...
It's like
can I be honest about that?
What's his name? Who replaced David Lee Roth? Sammy Hagar.
Can I be honest
You're
about
the
that?
Sammy Hagar of the Bonfire.
I'm not.
They had #1 hits with Hagar.
I like Van Hagar.
But it was never the same, though. Go ahead.
It's not the same. No, it's what they had was lightning in a bottle. And I begged Dan, you should stay. This doesn't happen too often in radio. And Jay wanted him to stay. Believe me.
Yeah.
Jay didn't.
He didn't want you.
No, maybe. He had no choice. But he should. But Dan was done.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: is that I understand that you guys love Dan and Jay. You love Dan. That's great. That's gone.
But you could do voices like Dan.
No, I can't. We tried.
We tried though. We just
tried.
tried.
We tried.
We just do it poorly.
Yeah, we
But that was a big part of the show.
Yeah, I want to go get you.
Well, that's what Dan was like to the show. Is one of the elements of him to the show. No, that's why I said when it switched out, it would be Dan didn't want to do it anymore. He was just over the responsibility. He said he didn't want to broadcast anymore. Sure, is he now doing a podcast and another podcast with Bobby? Weirdly enough, sure.
Jay was like, "Oh, you left this podcast to go do another podcast with the guy I'm doing the show with."
That sucks.
It's strange. No, but when I knew Dan was going, I never put any like pressure on him to stay because I don't want him to stay like for me or for my behalf. So, and it was at the time for the last couple years, me and Bobby sort of like reconnected. We just didn't see each other a lot, but kind of just in a situation where we were together a bunch and just having a ball.
Yeah.
Just like it was weird. It's like from Bobby taking me on the road, like opening for him when I was brand new in town and doing all that. That was a real life. We had a big gap in life experience and everything. And it's like, it's funny now that I'm 46
Jesus.
and Bobby's in 53.
53.
Bobby's 50. So it's like that gap is so much smaller now, and both parents. And we were having a blast, and I asked him kind of on the fly in Montreal Festival when we were doing the Nasty Show. I was like, if I couldn't say if Dan was leaving yet, but I was like,
If it should happen.
if Dan ever wanted to leave, would you? When Bobby said, Sophie said 2,000%, I'd be there.
Well, it's great for him because he has a family, and it's great to be steady income close to home, right? And you're terrific. Like there's no downside to it.
It wasn't a downside, but it was hard. It wasn't an easy decision because, I make my living doing stand-up comedy, acting. I have a couple shows that I'm working on.
That, right?
Well, I haven't acted in a while, but I'm working on a couple shows and stuff like that. So it was like, I didn't want to fail him again and be like, I don't like this. I had to really make sure, like, if we do this, this might last for a long time. And it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you have to be around, and it's a job. It's the first job I've had since my last job before comedy. Comedy is a job, but it fluctuates. You're on, you're away, you're home for a while. You can do what you want. This, you got to be there. You got to do the show.
Well, and big change when I first started doing it with Dan, and we started 2 days a week. Then we went to the 4 shows a week, and it was interesting to have a life where you were like, my night generally started like 10 p.m. And now having to do something like in the afternoon, like, and be ready for it was a big difference. But it's been great. I've been doing it for a decade now.
Robert and I have, breakfast sometimes once every few weeks.
Yeah.
He always speaks, just so you know, he speaks very positively and happily about doing this show.
Oh, we're having a blast.
Yeah,
like I said before, we said it is work, and it is like, when you have to get ready and, go when you don't feel like it or, strange time of the day that we do the show. So like, but it's always a blast. There's never a time you show up and it's not like having a ball.
That can happen with stand-up too. Sometimes you don't always want to go on stage and do an hour or 45 minutes.
But when you're doing it, you're like, oh well, this is fun. Obviously, it's like the work itself is fun.
But you can also shut stand-up off when you want. Like I take July and August off, pretty much of stand-up. This, like last summer, I got the tiny house. It was the second year we were up there. And I had to come back.
In New Hampshire.
Yeah, in New Hampshire. So I have to come back Sunday night to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And
you can't do remote?
No, I don't want to do remote. It wouldn't be the same.
But is it possible?
It's possible.
It's possible, but it's not the same. Being in the room with Jay, that was another hard thing, too. It's like I'm with a guy who did something with another guy for 8 years. So
that would be the pressure on me. I'd feel like I can't measure up.
I can't measure up to what they had. In my brain, we're gonna create a whole new thing.
It's a whole new thing.
And they had time to find their footing. Have to hit the ground running, otherwise people start judging.
So, they judge, and that's why I was like, I accept the judgment because it's valid for them. It was abrupt for them, and all of a sudden it's this new show. But those people will leave. They'll find something else who really don't like it. And the other people I find coming up to me at these shows now, a lot of Bonfire fans are like, dude, I love you and Jay. You guys are awesome. I love the new show. I love Dan. No one ever comes and says, fuck Dan. I love Dan and Jay, but the new show, I love what you guys are doing because it is a little. It's,
No one's ever said fuck Dan. You? I've had people say fuck Dan.
They did, but I wasn't going to say that.
So let's get back to what we were talking about before.
Palestine, Israel. Go.
I want to talk about that too. But you assume that he didn't actually have non-comedian friends because most comedians don't have non-comedian friends that they really consider friends.
Not on a regular basis, not on a daily.
So what's the hardest thing? What's hard about being friends with civilians? Like,
oh, your experience. Well, even in their regard, like my best example, my friend John, friends since we were little kids. 9 years old, I think I was when I met him, and stayed friends. He's 2 years older than me. Stayed friends all through high school. Then he went away to the military, and as a Apache helicopter pilot, fought in 2 wars and like all like crazy.
Yeah, I'm right wing.
Crazy experiences.
You're right wing.
Well, he did join the. I didn't do that. I was
Still friends with this right
getting
wing
fat
guy.
and telling dick jokes. We took different routes for sure. And it's just like when you catch up with it, it's fun to catch up on like what their lives have been. But like I don't, he was a person who I was like funny with when we were kids, and hearing someone like it's like a civilian being funny today, and you go, okay, like when they're trying, hey, remember we did this funny thing, like. Yeah, okay, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that funny, actually, I guess. So it's like I think there's just an imbalance in like life experience. You know what I mean? We don't know the same things at all.
So, but Robert, like I'm your friend. I'm not a comedian. You have the guys.
You're
at the
comedy
bar.
adjacent.
You're adjacent.
You're adjacent. You're one of the funniest guys I know, dude.
Well, thank you, but I'm
when
still
we
not,
hang out, we're pretty
do laugh.
much
Yeah.
we're doing comic shit. We're gossiping. We're talking about our wives, our family. We're fucking being inappropriate. We're whispering at the diner. It's funny. You're one of the fun. You're a comic.
Okay, I mean, this might upset you. It would upset you, but just so you know, like I have friends with comedians like you, and I have my civilian friends.
You have nerds.
I have nerds and various friends.
You have nerds.
And I find some of them as funny or just as funny as some of the comedians in terms of conversation.
It's a different funny.
Not on stage, of course.
Like when I go to the cigar lounge, like and I have a friend Joe Giordano, and Paul. When I go to the cigar lounge with those guys, it's a different. They're fucking hilarious,
yeah.
But it's like guy funny. It's like that guy. We bust each other's balls because I grew up with 5 uncles. I grew up with that. Guy shit all the time. So when I hang out with them. But they don't fuck with me, too. It's not like they're, hey, you're a fucking comedian. They don't do any of that shit. I come in, I'm one of the guys. I sit down. We fucking bust balls, make fun of each other, try to trigger each other. It's all the guy shit. So I love that shit. Plus, I have 2 worlds, and I don't really mix them that much, Well,
I was going to say, too, it just made me think that a good connection with people who aren't like comedians that I'm friends with, sports. Mm-hmm. Sports is always held on the net. You could always just talk sports for a good half hour, and then, all right, your family's good. All right, talk to you later.
But you're going through the motions. You don't feel it. You don't feel a.
No, I'm pretty stoked to talk about sports because they're from like my home. People from Philly that I grew up with and stuff. So there's that. But just beyond that, there's not much. I don't get the urge if I watched a new documentary or a show that I'm dying to like call a friend and talk about. I want to talk to another comedian.
Well, I'll tell you what the nerds and the comedians have in common, in my experience, and maybe you hit on something. No,
comedians can be nerds too, can they not?
No, but yes, but
are we exempt from that?
Like Dan's referring to
autistic.
my nerd friends. So, like, if I'm talking to you guys,
Yeah.
or I'm talking to like Michael Moynihan or Coleman or Harry, some of the nerds I hang out with. What's common about both groups of people is that I can say anything I want to them,
Right.
as opposed to 95% of the other people in the world say, "What the fuck did you just say?"
Yeah.
Or worried about what you said, or God forbid, at a dinner table, like so.
I've been to your nerd party. It was a blast.
Yeah, you could say this. So, but that's what I think is the joy. It's what my father loved about the comedians. He could sit at the table and say anything, anything you wanted. Nobody say, "What the fuck is the matter with you?"
Yeah, but I could bring Jay to my cigar lounge.
They'd love him.
They would love Jay.
Yeah.
And he would.
They love him more than you. They love him.
Oh, that always happens.
Oh, a couple of elbow bumps in the N-words. I'll be a star there.
He knows sports. You're
I'm a little unclear, I think, on the definition of nerd that you're using. How is Michael Moynihan a nerd?
Nerds are these people who make their living in intellectual pursuits, writing, appearing on podcast, television, whatever it is, as experts in the world at discussing politics and ideas. That's how it is.
That's how you define it, I guess.
Yeah, that's how.
I went.
You
Well,
agree with that?
you invited me to that nerd party one night at your house.
You think it
And
was a theme party? You showed up with like
It was-
glasses with tape in the middle and like a pocket protector.
dude, these guys were like some of the smartest guys
Yeah, some of the smartest guys in the world.
in the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Come over," and I'm like, "All right." I brought cigars.
But you were the star of the
I mean,
show.
I
They
brought
loved you.
cigars. They wound up smoking bats with me. So I kind of, they kind of went into my world a little bit, and I was cracking jokes. And they were one guy though. The one guy wasn't. There was one guy that was kind of like, "What?" Like he'd say something, I'd say a quip, and he'd be like, "Excuse me." But the other two nerds were fucking loving it. You know what I mean?
2 out of 3 is not
Is
bad.
Elon Musk a nerd? I mean,
Good question. Is Elon
you know, I think you got $200 billion. That kind of, and you've changed the world.
You mean the guy who owns
I
rockets?
feel like you hit Dan in the chest with that nerd line.
Yeah,
No, I copped to being a nerd, but I don't
He
see
thinks
Michael
the
Moore.
nerd doth protest too much.
If you call that a chest.
I don't think that Michael Moynihan doesn't seem like a nerd to me. He's an attractive man that gets beautiful women, that has a successful
There's
podcast.
a difference between like a man, some guy, a man, like a blue collar guy,
Right.
and some dude who, uses rubber bands to work out with, and like is
Nerd is a bit of a broad term for it.
don't say broad. She's
It's kind of like
I know what you meant. I think I said precisely what you meant. Right?
yeah, it's exactly when when I hang out at the cigar lounge, it's blue collar guys, it's firefighters, it's cops, it's construction
Yeah,
workers.
Trump supporters.
No, mostly.
Yeah.
But surprisingly enough, there are liberals at the cigar lounge, and they have arguments and they fight, but it's never an end. It never ends a friendship. It's like that old school way that my uncles and my grandfather and people would argue, and my mother and my stepdad used to argue. They
physically.
fight. Yeah, my stepdad used to beat my mom. No, it's just it's an argument. It's yelling, but someone's gonna throw a dig in. We're all gonna laugh, and they're gonna move on. You know what I mean?
Now, do you feel hanging out with those blue collar guys that it moves your politics a little bit to more Trump friendly? Like you kind of.
Well, it's funny that you say that because me and Jay talk about this all the time. I'm such a flip flopper, and I don't know anything about it. Like I have my friend Joe Giordano, who I talked to him one day, and I was going to vote. Now I'm fuck Trump. I'm heading in there with fuck everybody. I'm trumping this up. As soon as I walked in at the door, my neighbor down the street, a beautiful black man, like Denzel Washington dude, always talks to me. Hey, Bobby, how are you? You good? So calming.
You panic in the retelling of the story that you just called him beautiful.
He's a beautiful man. He is a
I
beautiful
don't think that's where you wanted to go with it.
Well, you know what I meant. Beautiful black man. And and he was like, how are you? And I was like, good. I was like, oh, shit. And I looked over as I'm about to check Trump, and he's looking at me, and he waves. He's like, you're voting for Biden, aren't you? And I went, yes, I am.
Did he say that to you, really?
No, in my head he did.
All right, let's talk about the Cellar. Dan thinks, there's a lot of accusations. Dan thinks, and you've said people don't get spots anymore. I've heard it said, I don't know about you guys, but I've heard it said, it's bubbled up to me that on various podcasts around, people are saying that the Cellar has sold out, that we become woke.
Well, those are two separate questions, but
Well, are they two separate questions? I would
Hang on
imagine,
one second, nerd.
I would imagine that you might think there's some connection, right?
there might be not. I don't think in my case, but
So, Dan, we'll start with you. Do you feel the Cellar is what's up with you? What's
sold out.
You make snide remarks about the Cellar now on a regular
No,
basis.
I make remarks that I'm being phased out. That's not a snide remark. It's just how I perceive it.
And who's replacing you?
Well, any number of
Jews.
new people,
Young
any number of
More
new
Jewish than that.
new people. But I never got a lot of spots here. So I don't know if you're hearing things that I'm not doing well or whatever, but I'm getting less than I used to. As to the question has the Cellar sold out? I mean, the Cellar books who's killing, and who's killing is going to be dictated by who's in the audience. So if the audience is becoming more touristy, more, I don't know.
I feel like your tenure here would be void of having to worry about a daily.
I've been here long enough that they probably won't just completely eliminate me.
No, but I mean for the sake of he's not killing. As other people watching, I think the kind of eyes are on you to see if you're killing.
I don't know, Noam. I mean, how much do you pay do you pay attention, or does Esty pay attention, or does whomever pay attention to who's killing and who's not killing?
I always picture Esty sitting home in front of a wall of television.
Yes, exactly.
Some kind of weird thing blinking on her temples, taking it all in at once, just taking it all in at once.
Yeah, we have laugh recognition software now. That's,
What are your LPMs, dude?
we should actually do that. There is like a manager.
checks.
There is a manager chat. I don't really check on it where
There is.
people say somebody killed, somebody didn't do well, whatever it is. Just I think
That's what kept me alive here for years and years.
Was what?
The manager meetings, I think. I think the staff always loved me here.
everybody always loved you. Jay, I mean, I haven't seen you here in a while.
It's been, yeah, I'm literally on the road every week.
You're on the road. But Jay and I we shouldn't rehash. Jay and I actually had a little friction. I haven't called friction, but I hope that wasn't ever a reason that you didn't perform here.
The book?
No, yeah, our little.
No. 'Cause
I still roast that guy Hankinson every time we have a conversation.
Did the book ever come out?
Yeah.
yeah, the book came
It
out.
did come out.
Nobody bought it. Every time,
I bought 10 copies.
Highlighted the bad parts.
every time we have a conversation, I just skewer him for causing me that problem. After let's not even go into that. You can see we did a podcast about it. Anyway, so do you think the Cellar has changed over the years in a bad way? And you could be totally honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, it's hard. I try to have perspective on stuff like this and realize, do you know what I mean? I would come here now and be like, man, I don't know a person. I know 2 people all night on the lineup or 3 people all night on the lineup. But I think, like, that's supposed to kind of, like, you're supposed to kind of get pushed. I'm supposed to not be doing 5 nights a week at the Comedy Cellar.
Well, you're on the road.
That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to be, like, busier than do that. When you're home, you pop in and do some spots. But I mean, like, so it is kind of that way. I would say the word on it is just that I've seemed to think with, like, you know, the general tone of, like, comedy clubs, like, it comes to a point, whatever's, so it's like, oh man, if you're gay and black or gay and Indian, just clear your schedule, man, because you're going to be doing a lot of spots. That it's more like that it's more booked that it's more booked on checkmark than comedy, than like the people being funny, or, you know what I mean, like, who kind of brought you in, like, who was the person who recommended you versus that. And I think if there's, like, something that's checking a box, it's an easy thing to work. And I think that only shows because, like, how fast someone will be in, you know, having, like, this was a club that I think 7 years I was in comedy and hanging out here for about 4 of those. And then, like, in 7 years in, I auditioned and got, like, and passed, like, here after hanging for a long time. I feel like there's like 3-year, 2-year comics, like, working here. I don't know, couldn't name names on that. But I just feel like when I look at the thing, I'm like, how long could they have been around? I've never heard this name before.
Actually, I appreciate you being so honest about that. And
A lot of people just got fired.
No, I want to answer it, 100% honest from my heart, but I want to see what your thought on is at first.
It's a hard thing for me because I came from when the Cellar had nobody here. They were barking people in. We used to perform in front of waitresses.
Melissa,
Yeah.
the buzz used to bark people in.
Bark people in, and the show
Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
went from 9 to 2, and, you know, I was here every single night with the same people. It was one show, and nobody came, and Esty would be in the room the whole night.
One show and nobody came.
Well, nobody came.
I know, it's hilarious.
It was nobody would be here, and
People don't believe that.
But the
They
weekends
perform
were
for,
always
like 5 people at the end of the night, sometimes 5, 7 people.
weekends
were always good, though,
It
weren't
was
they?
all right. It wasn't good. By the time you got 12 o'clock, because it was just a rolling show. When I went up, I always went up last. It was me or Godfrey. Went up last every night. We flipped the spots. And, by the time you got up, there was probably maybe 20 people. Maybe
Even on a weekend night?
on a weekend. But dude, by the end of the night, it was. I mean, it was better than the weekday. But so when I was here, you'd go upstairs and it would be the same guys. It would be Greg Giraldo, Norton. It was guy heavy. It was Esty used to be in the chair every night and would watch. And you had to get there was a real heavy filter in here. You had to go up after Attell or Giraldo or Quinn or Norton or whoever, and she would either be there when you were off or she wasn't. And you knew if you got in. And if you got in, you were in.
Right.
And, so
But when Jay says now you got to be gay and black to get a spot at the Cellar,
Well, I think
No, not to get one. I'm just saying, like, I think you don't have to. That
if you're
will-
gay and black,
that will come
You're
before.
right.
If someone does, if they do passably fine on stage with new person, young material, even I think if they check some boxes, there's a chance.
Well, but that also-
you
much
used to
faster.
have what I'm saying is, and that goes to my point. Back in the day, you had headliners. Every single person here was a headliner. Could do an hour on the road after anybody, in front of anybody, anywhere on the show, and kill. And I think what happened too is part of it. You have to kind of put into the equation is that you went from one show, all of a sudden it's successful. How many shows do you have a week now?
80.
80 shows a week. So all of us became headliners. We're not around. You have to fill those spots with people. The people that were comedy just blew the fuck up. Comedy back when we started was a shit thing to do. You don't become a stand-up. You can't do that.
I felt like the community was big, but it
wasn't.
wasn't anywhere near it.
Wasn't
as it
anything.
is now.
Now it's actually, you could fucking just watch stand-up on YouTube or TikTok, figure out the thing, the setup, punch, tag, get a topic, pop it in there, do it, and do well. I'm not saying these comics aren't great, but you can. So now you have to fill those spots. Comedy blows up. More people are doing it. There was 4 women comics back then. There's 1 million women comics now. There was no internationally, fucking Russian
2 of them
comics.
released Lampanelli.
I would also add, by the way, back then that there was nobody over 40.
And
at the
comedy,
clubs.
can
The
I say
whole
something
thing,
too?
we all
Comedy
got-
was American back then. Comedy was America and Canada. Now, because of Netflix, it's fucking everywhere. It's everywhere. There's comedy all over the world. So you have to. All of a sudden, there's Chinese comics. There's Indian comics. They're coming from all over the place now. There's comedy everywhere.
Build that wall. I get what you're saying, Bob. Build
No,
that
that's
wall.
what I'm saying.
So let me ask you a few things.
Does that make sense though? It's like comedy is so big now worldwide. It's not our thing anymore. It's the world's thing. And now you have all these comics doing it from all over the place.
Okay, so
And at 80 shows a week, you got to fill those spots.
So 2 things. So in the last year, as you know, I archived a lot of old shows from back in the day. By the way, if you want old footage of yourself,
I'd love that.
I want old footage of him bombing.
Please.
and
Particularly me bombing.
Yeah, please, with long hair.
oh, I have plenty of that. And your memory is half right. It was you and Geraldo. You guys were the mainstays, and you guys were all fucking home run hitters.
Yeah.
That was 60 to 70% of the lineup.
Right.
The other 30% of the lineup, 30 to 40% of the lineup, was a bunch of guys. If I showed you the lines, like, oh yeah, I remember him. I remember him. And the average level of the shows was weaker than it is now. You don't remember it that way because you weren't really focused on those guys.
There wasn't that many comics that could do it. Now there's a lot of comics that can I would say good.
Hold on. We were used to in those days that a comedy show had some people who bombed. That was just a regular thing, is to see 1 or 2 acts in a show bomb or really do badly. You don't see that.
For some reason, I'm even blanking on names, but I'm glad I don't want to say anyone's names. But I think I remember being here young and being a couple comics where it was like, they always kind of go do bad. It's like the thing almost. Yeah. That they're like, that's almost to go in that spot, and like, if they get them, great.
Can you mute the microphone for a second? Mute all the mics for a second. Just mute them all.
No, doesn't mean actually.
You mute them all.
They're all mine's
Are they
still
all
on.
muted?
Mine's still on.
Are they muted?
Mine.
The second one you said what I was thinking.
I mean,
Did he not kill that guy? The second guy you mentioned?
No, none of them killed. These
I could
guys,
swear he killed.
And there were a lot of
The
people
one bit.
like
He had
that.
one bit. He had
put
one
those
physical
guys on
bit.
today, forget about it. So anyway, so that's the first thing. So there is a kind of the good old days syndrome, which is
Sure.
No, but as far as the checking boxes, which is more serious to me,
You did.
it's so untrue. I mean, SD and I never, not once, ever would say between us in the most private moments, well, it's good because we need a gay, or it's good to have an Indian guy. As a matter of fact, I would fucking lose it on her if she would ever say something like that, because she knows how averse I am to that way of looking at the world.
Well, what you call it? That I think you personally I think you kind of like not recanted it, but I think even like said you didn't fully grasp who that guy was when you had the Seth Simon guy on.
Oh, we could talk about that in a second too.
Well, almost to that thing though. I think that's what might be what sits in my head because when he said
he had written a column about me, I didn't know about
right,
his. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
No, so I'm saying forget even that. I believe that completely that you didn't really know his thing, but I felt he had you on the ropes at one point when he said like he just starts calling out like lack of diversity here, which this place has for the time I've been coming 24 years. Never had lack of diversity. I don't feel.
Never.
It was always. That's why I always thought it was funny because I started in the black circuit. I always found it interesting that they would call the mainstream rooms like the white rooms, and I'm like, the crowds weren't even like that at all.
There is a lack of diversity in the audience.
Wait, so what's
Can I just say something real quick?
Let me
just say something real quick because I think one of my funniest things when you were fighting with that gay comic about not having gays,
Guy Branum,
not having gays, women, blah blah blah, and then Keith was like, "What are you talking about? He's gay," and he outed 3 people in a row. And we were like, "He's not out," and he's like, "What about this?" No, he's not. Remember you had to do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gay guys working here that nobody knew were gay.
So that's painful for me.
Well, let me say what I was saying
Yeah.
with the Seth Simon when he was in here. He was calling you. I said falsely, like a false accusation of not having like enough for diversity, and particularly, he said, "I have got so many friends, trans comedians that are friends of mine that are so much funnier than half the lineup here." And you were like, "Send them over to me. I'll put them on."
You
I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I think he said send them over. I'll give them a look.
Yes, because I'm always on the lookout for
I
funny
think the
people.
quote was, "I'll put them on."
Well,
Or put them on.
Whatever. Yeah,
Or put them on once.
Potato.
and-
Yeah,
I'm not going to put them on if they're not funny. So, and yet you're right that there's more. The comedy was way more diverse.
The pool's bigger. Yeah.
And so when I hear you saying this,
That was me. I said it.
what I hear is what I worry about is not that your analysis is correct, that we're actually checking boxes.
It was my analysis.
No, he said that.
Okay.
I'm worried about
my
I'm worried about a much deeper problem, which is that you don't think a lot of these comedians are that funny, and when you see someone who's not that funny, you say, well, the only reason I can imagine that they put this person on must have been because they checked the box. So that's what leads you to that conclusion.
Right.
When I'm saying, maybe we're being sloppy about who we're putting on, and we need to reassess everybody because
I can't give you on that.
I can swear my children to you. There is nobody that I would ever put on.
I believe you. I'm just saying when I look at a lot.
Yes, hello.
It's that's what I'm saying. It's just like an outside looking in, from the perspective. I said it's me. It's also I'm removed a bit, so I don't know a lot of the people.
Yeah.
If you put a laugh meter in the back of the room, everybody would knock that laugh meter off the chart.
But when you put a Dave Attell up, there's a difference.
Oh,
yeah.
When you see a show here, there's a difference between certain comedians.
Even with the same level of laughter, there's a difference.
I think the laughter, the show is amazing, great. Everybody's going to leave going, that was awesome. But there's certain people that go up where you're like, people will be like, wow, what the fuck was it? You can hear a thing happen in the room that back in the day was when I was on shows was there the whole time, pretty much. But
also with different styles, which was kind of
everybody was different. Patrice, Norton, you'd have Geraldo, then Attell, and Colin, and me, and Corielli, and Godfrey.
I forgot about
but there also is something else, God forbid, which is that we've gotten all older.
Yeah,
and I've told this story before. I'm sure to you, Robert, but I don't know if Jay ever heard it. But I remember very well coming into the Olive Tree and whenever it was that Eddie Murphy's Raw came out, late '80s.
Mm-hmm.
And the bar was still towards the front there. And Alan Havey and I think John Heyman, maybe even Colin Quinn. I don't remember if it's Colin or not. Maybe not Colin, but a bunch of comedians were like the giants of the day were sitting there. And I said, I just saw Eddie Murphy Raw. Holy shit, was this funny? And they said, are you kidding? He's a hack. He's a derivative of Richard Pryor. This guy's not. I was so shamed by these comedians.
Isn't it funny? But do you almost have the perspective of it now? Not that
I always thought it was great, but now the young
AC
generation,
on?
the whole young generation of comedians, they love Eddie Murphy Raw.
no. And I said, and I loved it also when I grew up. It is funny going back and watching those things and see they really don't age well because also when you work in this a long time and do it so long. I could watch Delirious and Raw and be like, oh, I see like the 19-year-old and 22-year-old all over it.
But
You know what I mean?
Raw
It's like
I just saw Raw the other night. It still made me laugh.
No. He was what his unique talent, why he was a mega star, was because like at that age he was able to pull it off with that kind of grace. But it's really not like brilliant like thought. It's just like it's like pretty surface level.
Well, he
theory.
also was great with impressions
Yeah,
and
it's not
act outs.
It's not intellectually brilliant
Sure.
comedy, but it is a display of tremendous talent.
Sure.
Just tremendous talent.
Yeah, it was 100%. But I understand what they're saying about. I just watched Raw the other day too. His closing bit was not a wow. He just rambled. He did a whole rant as this character, and he goes, "All right, I'm out," and the place went nuts because it's Eddie Murphy. But it wasn't like, I mean, I think Jay's special made me laugh more now. Attell's special made me
Tell
more.
special is great, right?
It made me. I mean,
Shane Gillis is special.
you watch these guys now. Comedy has evolved into another thing now, where it has to be really funny because there's so much shit out there, But look, I think a lot of it too, man. I really believe you have that many shows a night, and all of us went away. We went and we do this as our work now. These young bucks are where we were. I was here 7 nights a week. 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
I was here. Fridays, Saturdays, here. Sundays, here.
And the concept of being out till 3 a.m. now, I'm just like, what?
Now, by the way, that's Seth Simons' guy. Seth Simons, who he wrote he had written a column about me. I had talked to my podcast how I read my kids To Kill a Mockingbird in order to teach them about race.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a column called Dumb Dworman. He wrote for the court, criticizing me for that. So that was the reason I had him on. And unbeknownst to me, he had been the guy who came at Michael Che about stuff later on
He's
after
the one
that.
that got Shane
But I think that was after
booted
my-
off SNL.
after my podcast.
No, that was before.
Before, anyway. But just to say, I would have had him on even for those issues.
Sure.
Because
I've asked him to come on
I have
things
Rashid Khalidi
30,000
on.
times.
Yeah.
I'm always like, again, especially with confrontation, can we please do it on air? I don't want to do it all. And just like, that makes me way more uncomfortable.
So I had a thing. I spoke to Michael Che about it, and I don't know. I don't want to overstate it, but I know he was like a little like irked that I had the guy on. But then I explained it to him, and he was fine. But to this day, I see him. He comes in. He came into the Olive Tree a few weeks ago, and I bought him a drink.
Really?
Yeah, and my assessment.
Periel shaking her head.
Well, first of all, this is my nature. She knows. I mean, I do the same thing for Norman Finkelstein, who won.
I was livid.
Yeah, so-
I was
Norman
livid
Finkelstein's
with
a
that
lot more
Seth
charming than
Simon
Seth
guy.
Simon.
No,
Really?
I'm saying, but his opinions.
Well, I don't think that assessment
No,
is the truth. And your style of comedy and what you perceive to be funny is not in my realm. Ugh.
Anyway, so it's my nature to want to sit down with people like you say who are against me in some way. But
You love it. You're like your father.
I like my
Your
father.
Your father would. I'm going to say this. Certain comedians, he had work here
just to
argue with them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true.
And at the week after 9/11, he brought Hood back here, who his closing bit was he pulled his shirt up with the bomb just to see him if it would work or not in front of a crowd. We all ran downstairs. It didn't. Oh, it did. It worked.
Yeah.
The crowd ran for the game.
It blew up. It was great. We were all in the hallway. Your father ran down the stairs.
That guy Seth Simon just wrote another article about Legion of Skanks a few weeks ago, and this is what I mean. Like, why it's anyone to take that guy seriously is hilarious. Is we decided on Legion of Skanks to do, and the show's dubbed the most offensive podcast in the world, just to say, we're just kidding, leave us alone. And we talked about the Nickelodeon. You watched the whole Nickelodeon saga thing with all the people Nickelodeon getting
The pedophilia?
molested and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But a lot of it was about the guy's treatment of his staff, making them massage him and making them do weird stuff and just like being very over the top and inappropriate with his staff. And we have a meeting for our podcast every week, and we asked our staff, what could we do? Like, what are these things? Because we're going to say we're here to celebrate the professionalism and the business running of Dan Schneider, and we're going to have them do all this stuff. And then he just writes an article. It's just so funny when someone writes the bit out but like in anger, where he's saying he's presenting it like, you guys won't guess this. They went on to say they admired the styles of Dan Schneider's work, and then went on to force their staff to do these things, on camera, mind you. And it's just funny where you're describing what the bit was, but he's just like trying to rile people up.
Get it.
He does get it.
Yeah.
So
the thing is,
wait, I was supposed to say my one thing about Seth Simon. Then you can say whatever you want.
okay.
I like the guy. I've spent a couple hours with the guy. He is a true representation of a point of view that I vehemently despise.
But he's not a point of view. He's jelly. He's putting in whatever
But
mold you put him. This guy interviewed me years ago for my first special. Glowing review of how much he likes my comedy. Then it became sexy to take people down. So and then I'm a Nazi 3 years later. It doesn't make any kind of sense.
So you know what?
He's a worm.
Maybe I don't really follo what he does. So
Yeah.
maybe if I would agree with you. But when I was speaking to him, arguing about the politics of the day, I wasn't really arguing about. I said, "Oh, this is a pretty intelligent version of that kind of woke left point of view." I took it as sincere, and I enjoy the back and forth.
Sure.
And he was pleasant to hang out
Right
with.
to your face, and then he goes behind your back and he writes.
And he will do that. Yeah.
No, he didn't do that after we.
Okay,
He
after.
will.
He might.
No, he will, because that's the kind of person that he is.
Well, he has a right to write an article about something that he disagrees with.
He has
me
a
about.
right to do whatever he wants, but then don't show up as another person.
Did you just turn your headphones down?
Trying to. So this is what I would say about that. Then we'll get back to if he writes something that about disagreeing with something I said, that would not bother me. If he wrote something which I thought indicated a dishonest version of me that he now, since he knows me a little bit, knows better, which is kind of what you're saying.
He's pretty sure. I'm sure he knows I'm not a Nazi.
I'm
being Jewish.
That would bother me.
I'm 100% sure that he would do that. And also, by the way, I think that you guys make him fucking important.
Why do you hate him so much?
Because
I
thought,
cut his shoe. His importance. I said these guys were ridiculous. That's why I tell the story.
but
about the
even
last article.
talking
It's
about
how
it, it's like
ridiculous.
I didn't think that we should have had him on the show. You know that because
He wrote a column about me.
who gives a shit?
But
Well, you're looking for the art. I understand the.
He's
the
looking
one-
for.
That's Noam's thing.
I know.
Noam is a lawyer.
Yeah, but Noam-
Literally has a law degree. He loves arguing. He loves to you said this and to prove somebody wrong. And you've done it a bunch of times where you've had these people on and you've made them look a fool. And
I love that.
I think that's great.
I think you were awesome with the. I watched the whole.
Guy Branum.
No, not the guy. Brand was much more.
Those
recent.
guys
the
from Seattle?
The Seattle
Oh.
thing. I thought you handled that very. I thought it was great.
It's great.
Yeah, you.
I thought they came on. I thought you gave them every opportunity to not look kind of doofy and dumb, and they just did it to themselves over and over again. I don't have no problem with them at all. I don't have a problem with them even canceling the shows.
The best part about them, and I like them a lot, is that when we went downstairs, I said, "You want to see some comedy?" They looked down the line and said, "Andrew Schultz."
The one with the Hitler mustache and the Nazi haircut.
I just think that
They're excited to see Andrew.
that's the thing, though.
That really happened.
Oh, I know. I believe it.
It's like people like Norman Finkelstein and this fucking Seth
Aaron Maté
guy.
is it?
These people are disingenuous. Like you can disagree and you can say whatever you want, but
But the good thing,
They're not disingenuous.
They're not passionate about.
they
this.
are disingenuous.
Okay.
They're not passionate. No, I promise. They're picking up on a thing. There's a whole genre of which, by the way, I'm a fan of. I watch a lot of the, like I think Seth Simon and people like that, and I'm not sure the other person you named was, but in that ilk are dangerous because they're trying to actually cut people's like careers down.
I agree with
I
you.
love. There's a whole genre of podcasts that are just podcasts shitting on comedy and podcasts, and that's great. That's equilibrium to me. That's like you can't just have all your press feed.
What's the one you got me into?
Red Bar.
Red Bar.
That guy's hilarious. He just says he's turned on me 8 times. It always makes me laugh.
He made fun of my podcast, and it was the funny part about it is a lot of it's true.
He's right. That's a problem. He hits the chord because he's right. And some people, he tortured Joe Matarese.
I have some video of him too. By the way.
So do me and Jay.
But he tortured. He tortured Matarese, and it was just and the people who like kind of go for it. You got like Joey Diaz wound up. And by the way, I don't even want to over sell him because like I think he does like go. I think he's willing to have people like show up at your shows and yell stuff out at the shows and stuff. So I don't like that. But that genre of like critique comedy and just and kind of take that all like it stinks. Heard it before. You know, it's good. I don't mind that. I think it's funny because I believe also they're fans in some way. They just found a niche that will give them something to talk about, and I think that's almost in a much more vile way.
It's like wrestling.
Seth Simon is doing that and going like, oh, you know, I mean, I said at one point I've just met enough of these people that I said I sort of feel for the guy more than anything else because I go, that guy wakes up every day. I wake up and I grab my phone or computer or whatever, and I go and I sit and I'm like, I'm looking for someone's going to make me laugh or smile, I guess. You know what I mean? Like just something like silly. I'm not looking for like, and that guy every day is going, he's just combing through he has to listen to everything we all do to go, oh, okay. He said, you know, he said her instead of them. It's like some kind of.
You're saying something which is true, and I have to figure out how I feel about it, which is that I'm giving them credit. I'm giving him and people who agree with him credit for being sincere and believing what they say. And
why do you think he won't have a debate? He had a debate with you. He hasn't. He's turned down, myself included, many times. I said I would go on his platform, whatever he wants to do, and talk to him.
Wait.
And he won't.
But part of what they believe is, you're right, ruining people's lives by taking away their jobs and stuff.
They want
It's
that.
like holier than thou.
He's proud of what he did to Shane. He's very proud of
that. That's very, very awful. I can't, and so maybe it doesn't matter whether it's sincere. It's similar to the anti-Israel people who say, well, they're very, very sincere, but they would have, you know, Israel into the sea. You kind of have to suspend a certain reality to engage them within their own ideology. Otherwise, you really can't talk.
But to what extent does one have a right to give critique? I mean, Siskel and Ebert ruined careers too when they panned a movie.
But that's not their intent. Movies, they're movie reviewers. Jay is right that he was trying. I'm assuming we should have him on maybe to ask him what he. I don't want to give any option to anything that would hurt Shane. But like, what were you trying to do? Were you trying to get him to lose his job?
Of course
Yes.
he was.
But he didn't think that would happen, and then it did. And then he got him fired over what I would argue is pretty benign comedy, quite honestly. But he just saw that thing and like.
Well, was that the Asian voice that he was the main thing?
Yeah.
And that Asian voice was a character that he was doing.
There's also this like
Everybody knows there's
Of
no such thing
course.
as an Asian voice
Hi.
in real life.
Oh, there's no
Or
such
he's
thing.
not on my show.
Sorry.
This is not the cigar bar.
Sorry.
But how about if it's a legitimate Asian accent?
Well, look,
You're nailing it.
Listen,
It's still
Jessica
racist?
Kirsten does Korean nail salon. She does the Asian voice. And I watch the Asian women in the audience when she does it. They are hysterical.
Of course they are.
Yeah, of course they are.
But why? But that's funny. That's funny too because he only goes after certain people. You could go find any comics act has something in it that he could highlight and attack, but he doesn't. There's certain he does certain types of people.
And he's smug about it too.
Okay. Let's all dump on Seth Simon.
Oh no, let's not.
I don't even know the guy.
Well, he's not here to defend himself. We can ask him, but you don't want to have him back on.
Actually,
No,
Well, not-
I don't want to.
Actually, I have a
last
surprise.
Yeah.
Seth,
I'd love to come on with him if you have him.
It was the last thing on my mind was to bring.
I would genuinely love to talk. I've asked this guy. I go, let's just talk.
Well, why do you think he doesn't want to talk to you though? I mean, the answer is
'Cause he
so
thinks-
obvious.
I go.
Slice
The
him
first thing is because whoever he's trying to show this to, I'm going to make those people laugh. They're going to see
That's
that
right.
there's nothing nefarious about me, and then his whole argument's
That's
over.
right, because everything falls apart.
Falls to pieces.
Because you won't face it.
He's going to ask me. He's like, you have a Holocaust joke. So you think the Holocaust is funny? And that's just a stupid question.
So-
it's the dumb.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't even. So it just makes them look dumb.
Yeah,
I've
Jay
had met several people who have written stuff about me. I've been like, hey, why don't we do it? I'll come on your thing. And then they're always like,
Jay doesn't think the Holocaust is funny. He just doesn't think it happened.
yeah.
So the whole Skankfest thing. So I don't know if you. I was in Vegas last.
Yeah, I saw
and
you came by one
I don't
night.
think we saw each other. I was there to see Robert. I couldn't even catch up with Robert. But I was so fucking impressed with what you guys created there.
I mean,
and-
it's Louis, Christina, Rebecca, really. But I mean, like,
The whole team. I mean,
Yeah.
you need the talent on stage
Sure,
and
sure.
off stage, right? But I mean, the rabid following is a credit to you guys, not to them.
Yeah.
And also, I would say there was nothing offensive that I heard. There was the crowd was it was a lot of dudes, but it wasn't like
You weren't there when they stuck a gun in Lewis's asshole?
Is it the gun that's offensive?
No, nothing about it was offensive. It was actually brilliantly funny.
It was very,
I
very
mean,
funny.
it's like college humor. It's not. I don't find that.
Well, I'd
offensive.
tell you what I loved about last year that made me kind of happy. It was so funny. Joe DeRosa was the very first thing of the weekend was we kicked off with Legion of Skanks Live. And there's a trans girl who comes every year.
Hot.
Named Nikki Fox. Yeah, very pretty.
Smoking hot.
And she and DeRosa and her walked off during the show and went in the bathroom. And it went further than we thought it was going to go. And when they came out, it was like the talk of the festivals. And like in a world where, again, a person like Seth would writes an article about this like hate-filled, transphobic. And these are all things he's called us before. It was like everyone's just cheering. No one's like, ew, Joe, we hate you
At
for
the
doing.
end-
So
Everyone's
you guys
like
are
having
the Christian ministers who rail against homosexuality, but actually you're gay.
Yeah, yes,
But at
it
the
is
end of the festival,
Yeah.
they have this big the comedy jam,
goddamn comedy.
and she was on stage singing.
No, she was with DeRosa was singing
DeRosa was
"Time of
on-
My Life"
and
from
then-
Dirty Dancing with her on stage,
And
they
the
were-
crowd was loving every second of it. Nobody was.
So DeRosa's gay.
Oh yes, that was the big tell of the whole thing. He's definitely not just straight.
I actually got him a shirt when he did my podcast that says "I'm not gay."
Well,
So,
I mean, I think he's so straight that he loves women even with cocks.
That's right.
That's a good way to look at it. I'm going to tell my wife that.
is that a joke or you actually mean that, Dan?
It's partly a joke and partly if they look like a woman
With a cock?
with a cock.
What if they look like a woman and taste like a cock?
So anyway, so
The fact is, when you interact with trans women, they're women,
Yeah.
in every way, and
Yeah.
in terms of, I mean, Norton.
He's going for it. You're talking yourself into it, Dan.
So yeah, they happen to have a cock. Well, what about a guy that likes to get pegged?
what does that mean?
The woman wears a strap on and fucks him in the ass, but it's a woman, but you got a strap on.
Hard to find
What?
a
A
woman.
strap on?
A woman who'll do that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hard
Is,
grab.
is that gay?
No.
You don't
well,
know what getting pegged is?
I didn't. I
It's
had
the last
I
time
had-
you'll ever say "pipe down, woman."
So let me ask you a question about getting pegged.
Yeah.
Does it have to be shaped like a cock?
Yes.
Or is it just getting something in the ass?
Well, I mean,
Well, what? Other,
I mean, if you're gonna DIY it, you know what I mean? You could use a shampoo bottle
or a carrot.
A carrot would be
anything
good.
that fits
Have
in
you
the,
ever done that?
This show isn't about me.
anything that
You've
fits
done
in
it?
the ass is going to be reasonably cock shaped.
Yeah, hopefully.
You pegged a guy before.
You're not going to
I
put
didn't
something
say that.
shaped like a photo album in somebody's ass.
I mean, I've had girls. I
No.
mean, you've had girls put fingers in your butt before.
I had a girl who
think that's
wanted
Not with a
to.
cock.
No.
I had a girl who
sock
wanted
puppet on it.
who wanted to peg me. She was like, "I want to fuck you," and I was like, "Cool." And she's like, "No, I want to get a strap on and fuck you in the ass." I was like, "Oh, I heard you." Cool.
You'd be okay with that.
Well, she was like, the reason why I did this is young when I was young.
You were already bent over.
She was,
I mean, I want to put on a strap on. He's like, I heard you.
but no, the reason why it didn't happen, she wanted me to go buy it. I'm like, I'm not paying for it. I'm not gonna fucking.
Yeah,
buy
that
it.
would've been
No.
bad.
That's where your line is?
Yeah.
where-
Is it
That's where it's
gay,
gay.
Dan?
I wouldn't even pay for a full abortion.
I put the question to you. If it's gay.
I don't. Jesus Christ, is it gay? I
Is
don't-
what gay?
wanting to get a dildo in your ass by a girl who's wearing it as a strap on?
That is the most ridiculous question in the world.
Is it?
Of course not.
It's not.
No.
Oh, I was
Are you
thinking, yes.
Bobby's like, thank God.
Well, because Noam,
I'm gonna call Dawn right now.
Great news. Your husband's not gay.
Why?
well, because Noam would say that a woman, a trans woman with a penis fucking you in the ass, I'm sure you would say that's gay.
Well, I keep trying to tell him that that's not gay either.
But what is gay?
I'll tell you. You know what's
I'm going
gay?
to go with all those.
I'll tell you what's gay.
Broadway.
Rick Chrome.
What actually makes you gay then?
When you sing show tunes and suck dick.
Front seat at front row at Wicked is gay.
Yeah. 15th cock. Then you're gay.
Yeah, 15.
I think
What's
if-
like that movie? What's the knockaround guys?
Yeah.
415 dicks. That's how many dicks you gotta suck before
I,
you're a real
I think
gay.
if you like the feeling of something in your ass, that's not gay. I think if you like the idea that it's a cock in your ass, that's closer to gay. I think if you're picturing that it's a man behind you,
What if you
that's gayer.
What if you call it an ass pussy? Is that gay?
No, we didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
And then and I think that if you are giving a woman a blowjob, that's gay.
What if she doesn't come?
Well, you're a bad gay.
You're a terrible, terrible gay.
Cruel, sadistic, gay.
I'm not gay at all, but I do feel if I ever did suck a dick and the guy didn't finish, I would be bummed.
I'm not even good at this.
Yeah. I left this guy hanging.
I thought it was just women.
I'm a flat lever now. Blue ball in the sky.
So, all right, anything else? We're probably close to out of time. What else? So, I will say about this. So, I think Legion of Skanks gets a bad rap. I had Dave Smith on. He didn't like me very much for some reason, but
I saw him after.
I didn't.
He said he had a great
perceive
time
that
with you.
as.
I hope.
Yeah, I think he. By the way, he very much like you enjoys the same thing. I think he had a very good time. You guys got right into Israel Palestine, I believe, right?
Yeah. Well, we were good. How could we not talk about Israel Palestine?
No, I know, but I'm saying like that's. Dave loves that. As I'm saying,
Yeah.
so I don't think he did. He came over and said it was a great show.
Well, I hope he does because I like him and also I respect his success. I wish that
He's debating Chris Cuomo this week.
he's doing Chris Cuomo.
He's debating him on a live debate about COVID response.
You wish
Oh
what?
God, Dave's gonna skewer him on his
Yeah.
brother.
Can I say one thing really quickly? The problem that I have with people like Seth Simon and Finkelstein is different from you. You go into conversations with these people with no malicious intent, and you are actually granting them something genuine and true, and they're not going in, and you're not going to turn around behind their back and start talking shit. And they're not doing the same thing. That they are coming in with malintent, and they are not being honest and genuine.
Well, I don't know that Seth Simons has gone behind my back.
He
and
wrote
talked
a
shit.
fucking
That was
article about
before,
you.
That's before we knew each other.
Okay, so what?
But that's going.
So if he
But can I say something about that? I think it's important that guys like Noam have those guys on because
He won't talk to us.
They get exposed. They get exposed when somebody who. Because they think he's a comedy club owner. They don't understand how smart he is. The one thing that I love when Noam has these people on is that he's as intelligent, if not more than them, just he's a little more down to earth.
Because you're like that too, I think everyone was bummed with that particular interview. That was like, because you said the same thing to me. I spoke to you after it also, and you're like, I didn't know. I wish I knew all the Shane stuff and everything. And I was like, yeah, you just kind of went into uninformed. That's all I wish to that was like, oh, I wish you would have known all the stuff. You would have called him on it.
Absolutely, I would have.
And I don't think you would have liked his answers. I think you would have
it was the first time I ever heard of the guy. The guy wrote this column about me.
Yeah.
But when you have the people on, it's good to watch that because it's somebody who's not. You're not like when you had that Finkelstein on. There's a guy. What's his name over here? What was the other guy's name? Aaron. He's 100% on this side. He's 100% on that side. You're on the side of logic, and you're going to let somebody talk, and then you're going to debate them on that. And I think to have somebody on who's intelligent enough to see both sides, and if something makes sense, to acknowledge it, which you do. Also, when they don't make sense, to call them on it without anger and malice and fuck you. I think that's important, and it makes a guy like me, who I don't know politics, I'm not smart in that, but I can watch that and understand things a little better and see what that guy is. You understand?
Also, yeah, I understand. Also, we who are supposedly on the side that hates the people who are against free speech and all this stuff and cancellation, we have to hold ourselves to a particular more open standard of being willing to speak to people we disagree with, because that's what we accuse them of not doing.
Such a dumb thing to have to be militant about. It was never my thought about it. I remember Shane said something to me very interesting when the whole thing went down with SNL, and we were talking, and he was like, and he worded it perfectly. He's like, I didn't get into comedy to be some fucking martyr for the First Amendment. How many times I've had to say the First Amendment in my life? It's like, I don't. It's like I have a thing like I'm gonna like you said your father said at the table. I go and I just want to say whatever within reason, obviously. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't take many swings at trying to say the N-word on stage ever, because I'm like, what would be the payoff that's worth anything? That's because I'm just trying to be funny either way. So it's like, if that's going to cause the stink, you can play within certain rules, but you can say whatever you want. And the idea is, if it's something that makes you that upset, I was probably joking. Like, I thought that was just always the concept. So to sit there and have to keep explaining that to adults is like, how can you say blah, blah, blah about abortion? Like, because I'm kidding. Like, that's how I can say, I can say anything, right? You can just say any words, doesn't mean you mean it.
Yeah, but also I hate that thing too, that they took the freedom of speech thing where you don't apologize for anything. I think that's stupid too, because we say stuff sometimes, we're like, I fucked up. I'm sorry. I messed up. You should be able to say whatever the fuck you want, but make mistakes and also be like, I fucked up. That's
Well, the apology to the real, that's what Shane gave too, which is funny. The real apology isn't what they want to hear. They want to hear a fake apology. Everybody wants to be treated like children.
Yeah.
So it's like when, what was her name? Was it Paula Dean, whoever got in trouble for, and everybody like that with the N-word, and they go, have you ever said that word before? He goes, it's crazy. They caught me on tape the one time it fell out of my mouth. Isn't that nuts? And like they really want, but people would rather that than just go, do you say that word? He goes, oh, I've said it in anger. I've said it to be funny. I've said it behind someone's
coming.
I said it when I thought there was a ghost in the closet.
But you know what I mean? Nobody wants the real, like, apologetic thing, because I think Shane's thing was what it said. We've done things before where people have taken it. I remember one time one of our apologies, we ranked the Special Olympics girls gymnastics team from hottest to least hot. In a dark room with our fans to the whatever thousands of people that listen to the show. Assuming anyone who'd be connected to any of those kids that listens to this show would think that was hilarious and funny, which is true. That actually weirdly ended up happening too. But a person who hates us took that and sent it to the parents of those kids, of the gymnastics, the gymnasts, and the parents got in touch. They were like angry at us, and they reached out. 15-minute phone call before those moms were able to understand, like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that piece of shit who hates us wanted to ruin your day by showing you something that would have never been on your radar. It's a bunch of idiots. And we even said we would take it down, and they were like, no, you don't have to take it. It's fine. We took it down anyway, but they were like, they understood, like, this wasn't, of course, it was a dumb thing that when Louie got nailed with the jokes about the park. And then I felt bad that they even paraded that poor girl who was like a victim
100%.
or a survivor. They paraded her to go up there and go, Louis C.K., would you come to my house and say that joke? Like, no. Like, no, a lunatic would do that. That's a crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like these people that think they're being righteous by, like, hey, they're shining this light. Ari Shaffir's thing with Kobe Bryant. It's like they're shining. Yeah, but you're upsetting people by showing 1,000 people. This is for a core audience of people. I stay in my lane.
Comedy clubs are where you go, and you're going to be probably offended in some way. But hopefully they're smart enough. They offend you, but you laugh at it. That's what we do. We say the shit that in a way that will make you laugh. We perfected that. And in podcasting, too. We're performing for a certain audience. If we wanted to go on NBC, ABC, we wouldn't do it because you can't.
Right, you chose
That's
your
where
lane.
you go. You chose your lane.
You chose your lane. And it's like that's what's annoying when you're like, okay, you're right. I'm not going to pitch NBC sitcoms it's just not my world, and it's not what I do. It's not the kind of comedy I do. And I'll stay. And then they're still coming in the lane where you're at. And like he shouldn't be performing at his place. Like what? It's the same thing you said about with the Seattle. They shouldn't be performing there, but it's like. Well, you're letting someone who's not going to come anyway tell you who should be performing? That's crazy.
Well, I had said to a guy at the New York Times one time, and then he actually took it and pretended he said it. That
I'm trusting these writers.
I made the point that when, at late at night at a comedy club, you've had a few drinks and the light's kind of low and you get into a kind of naughty vibe and you make outrageous jokes and you laugh at it, And then if you watch the video over morning coffee, like, what the fuck was I thinking about? It's like hearing yourself have sex. Like, it was appropriate at the time. Shut up. Are you
That's
crazy?
like when Patrice got in trouble when he did the battered women's thing, and he did the joke about he had those things where he's like, you ever do the angry pirate?
Oh yeah.
And he's like, that's when you you come in a girl's eye, kick her in the shin, and she hops around on one leg going arg. So they got so offended by that. But she wrote it. She wrote this whole piece on him, but she wrote the joke and she wrote arg. So when you read it, you're like
arg.
You couldn't help but laugh. And then he went on the news and he told that she fucked the joke up, but then he told the joke the way it is, and you just heard a camera guy go, and he's like, it's for him. So it's not for you. You don't know funny.
So we all know that I'm sure like people would say jokes about me behind my back that are funny.
Yeah, we do.
And of course you wouldn't do it in front of me. And if I found out about it, it would bother me. But I understand that people joke about anything. But the problem is that years ago, if you did that in a club, that was it. There was no way. It had no life after that. People couldn't sneak. We didn't have cameras then.
Yeah, but the average asshole is in front of thousands, if not millions of people.
Now you don't know when you're sitting at lunch with me whether I don't have a recorder.
No, I know, but it's also the
I caught Kevin Brennan trying to record me one time in a conversation.
Really?
Yeah.
He goes, "Are you recording?" No.
But
And then
the
he
thing
picked up
is, the
his
problem
phone.
with the problem with the market for stand-up shows now in clubs is that you have, I don't know what the number is, but there is certainly a measurable percentage of an audience who is coming here to have a problem. They're coming here to comb through and see. Goes, oh, what did Sam J just say? Like they're waiting. They're waiting to have their eyes perked up.
We get almost no complaints about people being offended from time to time. Way fewer than once a week, maybe once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, almost always, it's not just that I can see why it's offensive, but it also wasn't funny. It's usually a swing and a miss offensive. From time to time, somebody's just crazy. But at least at the Cellar, they seem to self-select people.
Is there like a theme or a topic that people are
the
generally?
Jews?
Well, right now, but I think it's the topic of the day. The thing that the letter that was written that the whole book controversy came about was the lady was upset that I said some. I told this. I thought she was mad that I said something about like I made like a Trump joke or something. And she. This is what I thought she was pissed off about. That I said so that she thought I was into Trump or something, and she was like a 20-year-old, like college girl. What it was I told this couple that said they were staying at a Trump hotel. I was like, fuck that room up, and blah. I go, it's not your problem. It's a hotel. It's a Mexican lady's problem in the morning, and because there was that point in time, that was the news of Mexican kids in the cages at the border. She was like, this racist off that sentence. That's batshit. Like that's crazy that people can get that like wound up over stuff.
Didn't somebody like flip out too? Sam Morrill made a joke about the kid
the
that got
kid that
eaten
got
by
eaten
an
by an
alligator.
Yes. That was a funny one. I mean, that was hilarious. But of course, yeah, if your kid was mauled in Disney World, you wouldn't.
Sure.
But the person who was complaining, their kid wasn't eaten by an alligator.
That's what I'm saying. It's the odd. You're always playing the odd. Whenever you're going to do jokes that are going to hit in the gut, like the high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
You're taking the odds. The same thing. There's hilarious domestic violence jokes, and you're just taking the odds that there's just not a guy in this room and his wife who he just beats the shit out of. You're playing the averages.
Not good odds.
Probably not.
I got in trouble.
Well, it depends how Midwest.
I got in trouble here. Your father
at the cigar bar.
No, your father. There was a guy in a dad with his kid and his wife to the left, and he had a massive head. It was a big head, and I just walked up and I was like, "Holy shit, you got a head on you, sir. That's a big melon." I said something like that. He got so offended and angry.
My father did?
No, the guy. He wrote a letter to your father. This whole fucked up thing about. But I wasn't going up to fuck with the guy's head. I didn't spend the whole hour on it. I just said, you got a big head. And he had a big head.
He's probably heard it his whole life.
Yeah, well, don't sit front row at a fucking comedy club with a head like that. You know what I mean? It might come up. But here's the thing, though. I wrote back to the guy, "Hey, man, I didn't mean. I wasn't going up there to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry you got offended by it. I'm
sure when he saw your spelling and punctuation, he felt better.
Oh, I didn't write the letter. Dawn wrote the letter. I used the wrong two there.
He felt superior.
But I was like, look, man, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry you felt that way. And I hope you give comedy another shot.
That was nice of you.
Because I
don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Like he said, we're only going up there to make you laugh. What we think is funny. And you might not think what I think is funny. And sometimes
you also got to take the shot too. Like I said,
Yes.
I've had only one time I can remember it's scary when someone's like in a wheelchair, very prominent in the room, and like you go and it's like it makes sense. There's jokes, but I usually also try to make them like feel like you know what I mean, like try to make this guy the coolest guy in the room move, and some like the attention, and some most of the time people are like, please make all the leg can't work jokes in the world. I love it. And then there's just one person who's like, no, I hate that. Please.
But it's usually not the person in the wheelchair.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why it's rare to find someone.
It's usually
I said
women.
my Mexican complaint was from a 20-year-old white girl.
Right.
Yeah, it's usually a woman and it's usually a white girl.
Yeah.
What
Let's just
happened
get
to
that out there.
the man with no legs we were supposed to have on the show? We were supposed to send him a
He
ticket.
couldn't get up the
Yeah, you never
stairs.
built a ramp.
We were going to send him, we were gonna send him a ticket.
I told him that we have stairs.
Yeah, you got 4 sets of stairs.
I'm kidding.
Oh, don't.
What, are we going to crane him up the window?
What are you, a monster?
We'll get him in here like a piano.
I told you.
You're gonna get an Iron Man suit to fly up through the window.
Have you seen this guy? Do you remember his name?
Not off the top
I
of my
think
head.
he could climb stairs on his
I'm
hands.
kidding. This guy's
On
like
his
a
hands.
like
he
a
was pretty-
like an Ironman triathlete. Listen to me. He wasn't coming to New York just to do the show. That was the answer to that.
He wouldn't come.
Correct.
But did you offer him a round trip flight?
He was not going to come to New York just to do the show.
So what? He wants something more from us? Then why did he agree to do the show in the first place?
Because they offered to do it or via Zoom or when he was on like an East Coast speaking tour, because he usually gets paid to. And if to Bobby's original point, if you read the emails that I send you, you would know that.
Listen, first of all, if you want people to read your email, you can't send a fucking 1,000 emails.
Okay,
Well, I mean, yes,
but
actually,
you wouldn't send 1,000 emails if you responded to one
Thank you.
and a text message. You don't answer the phone, and then it says, if you really want to get in touch with me fast, text message me,
That's right.
and then you do, and then you don't get back either.
That's right.
All right, so
Listen, I'm busy.
I'm fucking.
Yes, so
what do you
am
think we
I.
are? We think we're not busy?
What do you think? I'm sitting around all day
Business
long?
owner, I understand this. No, I'm going to take your back on this one.
Oh,
Can't always
fuck
be getting
you.
back to people.
Yeah, fuck you too. You don't get back.
I have 3 kids.
I got
don't
a kid.
I don't want to hear it.
I
It
have a
doesn't
wife
matter.
who's worth 3 wives.
I have a wife.
It's
Your wife is different than my wife.
What the fuck does that mean?
My wife is very high maintenance. You're the high maintenance one in your relationship.
I'm the drama mama.
Yeah. Dawn and I connect
That's
on,
right.
on spousal
I
problems.
wish you connected fully. I'll take your wife and your house and your money.
Half of it. All right. By the way, your daughter's grown.
21.
Wow.
What? Wow.
Just graduated
looking for it, Max?
esthetician school.
It's a black dude. Black dude with no legs who does athletics.
Does athlete?
You said it.
Does athletics. All right. So I guess listen.
Zion. His name is Zion something.
Very good, Periel. I cannot remember names anymore.
I can't either.
My memory.
You got to do tea, man. Get in on that tea. Come down the cigar lounge. Get you on some
I don't
tea.
want-
I have to go
Are you
pick
doing
my
it?
son up.
Huh?
Are you doing it?
I'm actually talking to a doctor right now.
You've been doing that for months already. It doesn't take a long
I-
conversation.
because here's the thing. I just did that
I think
whole.
he's doing it and not admitting.
I swear to God. believe-
Doing what?
Testosterone.
Oh.
He's been talking about this for at least
my
6 months.
T. I got my T checked. It's 400. It should
that
be.
That's low.
It's low, but it's not.
It's the low end of normal.
It's the low end of normal. So if I go under 400, I can actually. I could do it, but
Looks like he's growing out of the
Okay,
ground.
What? I'm
can you
sorry.
Max, before we play, just find a
Be
spot
a
where he's
muscular
actually
black guy and not even.
where he's locomoting.
We don't even know what this guy's dick would have looked like.
what if he just still had his dick?
It's only
So that's
like
him.
that.
Look at him. That's not. Wait.
He does have a dick.
What would work?
Does he have a dick?
what didn't
sure.
work, and there's a lot of
No.
things that don't work, but the things that
That's
do
him.
work, drill and
But
pull
can you find a part where he's running on his hands? Not wrestling.
flawless until somebody might know I'm doing it. But
By the way, whatever chance we
Max,
have.
don't find not the wrestling part. Find the part where he's running. And then get back to us. Go ahead.
It would
Find
suck
a
to
different
get your
video.
ass kicked by
You're
him.
never getting this
Find a
guy on
video.
the show now.
That is the least scary, should be scary person I've ever seen in my life.
Find Zion running his hands. So go ahead. Testosterone. 400.
Are you becoming
Yeah,
trans?
Now, what are your symptoms?
I'm sluggish. I don't remember things. I just,
How about your sex?
sex. My sex got good. When I lost the weight, my sex drive came back. It sucked because my wife hit menopause at that time. So it's like, but I think there's I would like to do it just to get my oomph back, my mojo back.
Oh,
and I've talked to
Have her peg you.
after this podcast.
Real quick, let's show this, Max, and then we'll go. Look at that guy. That's amazing.
I was expecting, I was like, y'all don't understand. Like, I'm going to be under 5 seconds, maybe even under 4. And I called
20 mile,
First thing
20
I
meter.
said, the second I was done, I looked at all of it, I said, I told you.
That's good. It was good. That was good,
I
Max.
told you exactly what I was about to do, and I just did it.
Yeah, but can he ski?
To be a Guinness World Record title holder.
Can he run and then
number
catch a
one.
football?
Yes.
Look at that guy.
There's nobody faster than me right now. I'm
Yeah.
the
Look at this,
fastest
look at
man with
this.
their hands in the world, but at the same time, it
But
also
can he
means
put the
that
plates away
my
after he
family's
washes
winning,
them?
My town's
Nope.
winning, and my support group's winning because
That's fucking
without them, I
amazing.
wouldn't
This
be
is
here doing
this is a tribute to the human spirit. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, back to pegging or testosterone?
Both. Testosterone. Yeah.
No,
I want to meet that guy.
Testosterone, you're only replacing what you had. It's not like like doing steroids or something like that. It's just replacing what you had to a normal thing, 800, 750, 800. I would only go to there. I wouldn't replace it. Some guys, the problem with testosterone, guys,
are you going to get erections in class again? Like how?
I hope so.
If you're lucky.
I hope so. I would love to get erections all the time again.
Just light nipple play, bones you up every time
Oh
you see it.
God, I love it.
But if you get erections all the time, you're either going to need someone to satisfy them, satisfy you, or you're going to end up cheating. That's what's going to happen.
I could just jerk off a lot.
No.
No? Is that what you do?
I'm saying no. I'm just saying like to have an unnatural sex drive for your age
Yeah.
is probably going to lead to some consequences you have to figure out.
I don't have to figure that out. Dawn does.
As long, yeah.
Dawn has to figure that out. You want me to cheat, or are you going to give me some puss? Right? I'm not going to cheat on Dawn. I'm not fucking. There's no way.
But she better get wet then.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't have to get wet. I can just put stuff on it.
If you're within the normal range of
Yeah.
testosterone, I don't think you should.
Well, that's why I haven't done it yet. I'm still at 400.
It is literally the lowest level. It's a weird number. When I got checked, it's a very strange range of normal. I don't even know what the numbers mean, but it's 400 to 1200 is normal range.
For white people?
Whatever. I guess me, yeah.
That's a big range.
There's white people with 1200
Naturman, it's 200 to 300.
for nerds.
What does it do for longevity? Are there any effects?
Your dick stays the same size, but I think your balls get smaller.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Like,
Where you going?
like,
Oh, okay.
does it have any lifespan effects? Is it any disease protection that it offers?
I think what you're able to do,
Osteoporosis.
what you're able to do is you're able to work out better. You're able to, like right now I lost all this weight, but it's hard for me some days to get motivated to work out and do the things I need to do to keep it off. And that's because I have my T is low.
All steroids are healing, I believe.
Yeah. And
It's mostly about healing. It's not like about like...
Every guy I talk to is like, I got more energy. I work out better. I can actually get stronger, easier. And I've never heard, the thing you have to be careful of is that it does, you have to get your colon checked every 6 months because it can fuck with colon cancer.
And now we're back to pegging.
And now we're back to why I want to get pegged, to get checked.
Hey, Don, could you strap on this colonoscopy machine?
Yeah. What do you mean colon check? Colonoscopy?
Yeah, well, you have to, no, you do blood work. You can do blood work now. You just get your blood checked every 6 months, make sure nothing's happening.
Come on.
I'll let you do it.
Don't take this from me.
Yeah, so you have to, you can't just start doing T and not keep checking that you're okay. At some point, if something happens, you have to get off of it. But every guy that I know that's on it swears by it. Swears by their
Sleeping better.
They sleep better. Their memory is better. Their energy is off the charts better. They feel like you felt when you were in your 20s.
Bobby's saying he has friends, but he just means Joe Rogan. He listens to Joe Rogan's podcast. That's what he says. And also, hunt your own elk.
Does Rogan do testosterone?
I don't know.
I have to assume yes. I think he has to do it right into his neck or between his toes like a junkie.
What we do know is nobody in this room does.
I'm so lazy. I took it. The doctor gave me 1 round of it, so I did it for a month, and I was like, that feels good. And he goes, I got to do your blood work before I can give it to you again. And I went, oh, that's going to take a day. And then I just never got the blood work done. I never got on it again.
You did T.
For a month.
And it felt good.
I mean, barely. It was just like a month. You got to take time to set in.
It takes a little bit, yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah, you should do it. We should start doing it. And
You guys want to juice? I'll juice with you guys.
Let's all juice.
Naturman, let's fucking juice.
Yeah, let's
dude.
make that other room into a bedroom and start juicing.
I'll do it for a show.
Yeah, we'll do
Like,
dark web.
If we all do it, videotape ourselves, and then do it.
All of us getting swole. The 4 of us getting crazy swole would be awesome. I'm telling you, we could do HGH. We get all this stuff. The dark web.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it for a year.
Do we tell our wives?
Well, what are there?
No, we don't tell our wives.
Oh, they'll find out.
we start fucking them, hitting them.
Hell no.
Oh,
Do we do it then?
If you do it and you stop doing it, do you just go back to where you were, or there's some?
It takes a
you
while.
Go back even further.
It takes
It takes a while. It's a big depletion. It'll take a while before you start producing your own again. But that's why also they try to keep you. That's
better
more like
wean
abuse.
you.
That's more like weightlifter abuse of it though. They try to give you an amount that just is like a supplemental.
Yeah, you got to get checked every 6 months to see where your T is. But what happens with the
They don't want
guys
you
who
to stop producing your
weightlift,
own.
they're like, fuck it. And they go to like 1,100.
Well, because they stop producing their own testosterone completely. So when they get off, it's like takes a while for that to come back. Like a doctor prescribed one, they're going to make sure that it's like,
Yeah,
you
let's do
don't
it.
stop producing your own.
Dan probably has 1,000. We should all get tested beforehand. Dan will be like
Oh, yeah.
twice as high as the rest of
I
us.
bet your dick's so hairy.
We should all get tested and see who has the highest T.
Okay, I'll do that too.
Let's do that.
I can't do that.
Why? What do you think your T's at?
2?
2?
I'm a position. I'm a boss. I can't be known to have the lowest T.
You can't have
Low T.
I'm not assuming it is the lowest, but if it were the lowest, I just.
Well, you're the
Can you
oldest.
imagine?
so
the
Noam up there with his low
Can
T
you
yelling at me for being
imagine
late.
the abuse?
Yeah,
it's a function of age. So you're the oldest.
But if you find out you have low
Is
T
it-
and we get on the juice, you're going to have high T. You might beat Keith into another stroke.
All right, fellas, I'm gonna let you go.
All right,
I'm really, really happy you guys came.
Thanks for having us.
I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Robert, I'll see you.
This weekend. Sunday.
Oh, you coming over Sunday?
No, not Sunday.
Monday.
Sunday,
And
we're going to the Stones.
Sunday, you're going to the Stones?
Yeah, we're going to the Stones.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be awesome.
Mick Jagger, talk about amazing. Fucking 80 years old.
That guy's T's high.
He was.
He had heart surgery.
I saw him in like '89 on the
Wow.
Steel Wheels tour, and they were calling it the Steel Wheelchair Tour.
That was Mark Cohen's
because
They were all
no,
covered.
they were really calling it the Steel Wheelchair Tour.
Yeah.
Because they were considered old at 48 because rock and roll started in the 50s, so nobody was that age.
Dude, I've told the story. Dan hates when I tell the story twice, but just, like 1978 or 79, I got punished and I wasn't allowed to go to a Rolling Stones concert. And my father, he always gave in on his punishments, but this time he's like, no, I'm sorry. This time I'm sticking to it. You can't go. And I started crying. And I said, Dad, you don't understand. It's probably the last time they'll ever tour. This is 8 years after the Beatles had broken up. They were already like this, and it's like, and everybody's saying this is gonna be the Stones' final tour, 1979 or 1978.
Christine
It's amazing.
went to Cher's final tour in 1999, and then she just went to go see her 2 years ago.
Streisand did it. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you.